Welcome to the Westport Library. Today's program will begin momentarily. Supported by Verso Studios, created locally and shared with the world.
Hello all. If you could move to your seats, please, that would be awesome. Fantastic. Well, good night, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Propp, and I'm a board member and one of the founders of StartUp Westport. I lead our marketing and programming efforts, and I'm really so happy to see so many people in the audience for what I know will be an outstanding evening of content and conversation. I should point out that our StartUp Westport tradition of an after-party continues, and tonight we'll be moving our conversation to the Spotted Horse at Tavern at 26 Church Lane right after our event, so around 8 o'clock, 8:15. Thanks in advance to Galia Gichon, Chris Galno from Tidal River Fund, who are producing tonight's conversation. I met Galia and Chris and Westport's first selectwoman, Jen Tooker, about 10 years ago as part of the Refinery, which is a state-funded program held here at the Westport Library. And we were able to help, we were all mentors, we were able to help a great many women-led companies take ideas and turn them into companies. And it was very cool. Hopefully tonight will inspire some people to create or pursue startup careers and consider becoming early-stage investors. Finally, before I turn the mic over to Cliff Serlin, I'd like to encourage you to volunteer to help StartUp Westport. The work is not difficult. It's a great opportunity to get to know your fellow StartUp Westport members. Importantly, it gives us an opportunity to create more of the sort of programming that you've come to expect from us. And you can register to volunteer via the QR code we've been displaying or on the startupwestport.org website. So thank you for all your help and for coming to our events. We really love seeing everybody. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend, StartUp Westport President Cliff Serlin.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate the very kind words, and hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Cliff Serlin. I am the president of StartUp Westport. Before we dive into tonight's content, I wanted to take a minute to tell you a little bit more about StartUp Westport. So I get this question all the time, multiple times tonight already. So what exactly is this StartUp Westport thing? It's a great question. We've spent the last year ourselves actually trying to figure it out. But in a nutshell, we're a group of local business people who have joined with town leadership to form a public-private partnership to foster and grow Westport's innovation ecosystem. We aim to be a resource in every and any way to make Westport and the greater area a better place to live and work. Today, we actually celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Let me say it's been an amazing first year. We have over 1,000 members in Westport, in StartUp Westport. We've held 6 events, and I was having this conversation earlier tonight. Each event is different, it's distinct, and it attracts a unique audience. I'm thrilled tonight that Galia is going to be running the Female Founder Forum. Excited to learn more about female entrepreneurship. One of the most important things that we've done here at StartUp Westport is create the StartUp Westport Mentorship Program. Our mentorship program is designed to help people build and launch businesses right here in Fairfield County. We specifically designed the program to not only support Westport, but to also help underserved communities in the area. Today, I'm pleased to announce that the mentorship program has over 75 registered mentors and mentees. So great job, excited to expand this program. Noah Fenn is somewhere here. Noah, thank you so much, and his wife Susan for spearheading our efforts with the program. Again, it's an amazing offering that we have, so thank you so much. I also want to call out our sponsors, Wigan and Dana. I saw some of the attorneys from Wigan and Dana. Jack, thank you so much, and Manifest Cyber. Their commitment to Startup Westport enables us to do what we're doing here, which is to offer this great content. Of course, it goes without saying that our partnership with the Westport Public Library is foundational and enables us to do pretty much almost everything and all the programming that takes place here and serve as our partner for all of our flagship events. So again, thank you to the Westport Public Library. So tonight, I'm also pleased to announce that on Tuesday, April 30th, we will present the first Startup Westport Innovator of the Year Award to ESPN's chairman and CEO, Jimmy Pitaro. Jimmy is a Westport resident, and we're excited to celebrate his career and accomplishments. The evening will be emceed by a soon-to-be-announced ESPN anchor, so please plan to join us for that incredible event where we'll learn more about Jimmy's inspiring career and the inner workings of ESPN. So now I have the pleasure to introduce our first select woman, Jen Tooker. Like many of us in this room, I consistently marvel at all that Jen does for this town on a daily basis. Being the first select woman of Westport is no easy task. Jen manages to graciously and elegantly weave together the various stakeholders here in town while keeping a smile on her face, always. I want to thank Jen for all of her support for Startup Westport. From the very beginning, along with our Chief of Police, Vodi Kaskanas, their support has been crucial to all of our success. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our incredible, hardworking, inspiring, affable, compassionate, and dedicated first select woman, Jen Tooker.
Oh my heavens, do I have to live up to that introduction? Thank you, Cliff, so much. Cliff is right, this job is complicated and pretty much 24/7, but what I will say is one of the highlights of this job has been my involvement in Startup Westport. So before I have the honor of introducing our host tonight, Galia Gichon, I wanted to just share with you a few thoughts from my standpoint and from my perspective on Startup Westport and this initiative and this wonderful group of people that I work with to help make Westport a tech and innovation hub for Connecticut. So we do, as Cliff said, we have put on 6 events like this. And so part of the magic of what we do is to kind of curate content that would be interesting to the tech and innovator and entrepreneur, funder, founder group here in Westport and Greater Fairfield County, and then let you all work your magic. Right? Let you all network, meet each other, make connections that hopefully turn into something that grows your business, or maybe even impacts you professionally in other ways other than just growing your business. So that's one of the things we do with Startup Westport. But the other thing we do, and Cliff mentioned it, and I believe Peter did as well, is we're very, very committed to our mentorship program. And I'm sure many of you in the audience, like me, in our professional careers have, I think we really owe a lot to mentors that we have met and developed relationships with in our professional careers. So for 25 years, I was in the reinsurance business, and I have incredibly fond memories of a couple of mentors that really created opportunities for me in my career in that business that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. One of them being most notably that I spent 12 years in the UK market living overseas because of a relationship with a mentor who really saw what I wanted to do and saw my potential. So, I think it's real, and again, in this crazy dog-eat-dog world that I'm in politics, I am so grateful for the mentor, your previous first selectman, my predecessor, Jim Marpy, who many people probably wish I was a little bit more like him. because he's an absolutely fabulous human, but I learned so much watching him in this role in 8 years. And so mentorship is incredibly important to all of us personally and professionally. And so please, as Cliff mentioned, as Peter mentioned, Noah and Susan are here tonight, Georgie's here tonight. We are so committed to the mentorship program. It's been so important. Mentorship has been so important to so many of us in our professional lives. Please, if you're interested, go to startupwestport.org, click on the mentorship tab, and see what we're doing in that arena. So with that, now let me just make a few comments about Galia Gichon. So I am incredibly proud that Westport is hosting this conversation tonight. As Peter mentioned, he and I met, and Galia, we all met over a decade ago through the refinery, which was an incubator that was really doing a lot of work for startups and specifically female-founded startups. I've been a huge supporter of many, many female entrepreneurs, and it's been years in the making for us to host in this community a conversation like this, and with such a rock star host as Galia Gichon. I've known her for over 10 years, and she's an impeccable professional. She's a fabulous mother. She's a wonderful friend, and what you're gonna find tonight is she is truly a rock star in her line of work. And so let me actually, other than just talk from the heart, let me actually read you her bio. She is the co-managing partner of Tidal River Fund. Also, Galia is an independent personal financial expert with more than 20 years in financial services, including Wall Street and an MBA in finance. She taught personal finance and investing at Barnard College for more than 15 years and started her career on Wall Street as a bond research analyst. She's an active angel investor in more than 9 funds, all women-led. She is the author of novel, The Accidental Suffragist, which I have read and I highly recommend, and the co-host of popular podcast Fiscal Firecrackers with leading actress Susan Yeagley. She's lived in Westport since 2011, so I guess we're 2024, so I was right. I've known you for a little over 10 years, and has raised 2 daughters here who have gone all through Westport's excellent public school system. And so without further ado, can I introduce you to Galia Gichon, who is our hostess tonight.
Wow, who is this person? Hi, I'm Galia Gichon. I'm thrilled to be here. I had to write, because there's no way I was going to remember this off the top of my head. So I'm thrilled to introduce you to Female Founders Night through StartUp Westport and the Tidal River Fund and the Tidal River Network. We are the first angel group in Connecticut for women investors, and Tidal River Fund is the first fund in Connecticut for women angels, though all are welcome. We started out as a network founded by Annie Lamont, who's the co-founder of Oak HCFT, and you also know her as the First Lady of Connecticut, and Allison Malloy. Please stand up. Come on. Who is the managing director at Connecticut Innovations, which is Connecticut's venture capital arm. So these 2 women just said, hey, we need to get women in the room. That's the very, very, very short story. So through the Tidal, so they launched the Tidal River Network, and we had hundreds of women attending our events. We individually wrote checks to 8 companies. 7 were women-led, 7 were in Connecticut. And 5 of those companies now have revenues more than $1 million, and 3 of them have revenues more than $5 million. So that was the network, which we're really proud of. And one of them is here, too. So we were then encouraged to start a fund. So we thought we would aim for 500,000. So this is where Chris Jelena, where's Chris? Chris, stand up. No. This is Chris Jana, my absolute co-managing partner, my everything. Chris and I put our forces together and said, let's start a fund. This is what women want. So this was the Tidal River Fund. And our goal was to raise $500,000. And it was really geared towards women angels in Connecticut, even though we could invest anywhere in the country. So how much do you think we raised? We were supposed to raise $500,000. So we closed December 31st over $1 million. So we doubled our projection, $1,075,000. We have 36 women who are LPs, 35 of them are in Connecticut, 2 institutional investors. And more importantly, we've created a community and we're making change here in Connecticut. Now, Amy Bennett is our head of due diligence. Amy, stand up. She's amazing. And Amy and I, of the 9 funds that I was in, Amy and I were an LP. And if there's any other Tidal River Fund members, I know there's a few here, please stand up. Or just raise your hand if you don't want to stand up. We've got 1, 2, 3. So we're women making change. So since we launched last May, we've invested in 4 companies, all women-led. 1 is on this panel. 1 of the companies is in Connecticut. 2 of the companies have more than $1 million in ARR. That means their annual revenue. And 2 of the companies that don't have revenue are FDA approved. So these are just rockstar companies. Our goal is to invest in companies that have a lead investor, so I know some of you are talking to, so just making that little plug, with a reasonable valuation and significantly scalable business, which we'll talk about more tonight. We also do angel education workshops because 90% of our angels never wrote a check before. So we know that people are still learning and want to learn, and we welcome you. We welcome the learners. We also have a monthly newsletter, which you can sign up for on our website. I'm really, really excited to present this panel for many reasons, just to bring women investors, female investors, and just 4 rock star female founders. So I'm going to bring them up here. I'm going to introduce them. They're going to introduce themselves, though, because I'm not going to do justice for who they are, but I just want to bring them up here. And I have to admit, I had more that I wanted to invite. There wasn't room on the stage. So there's a lot of really great female founders here in Connecticut that hopefully we can do this again and showcase. So the first is Marissa Fayer, who is the CEO of, all of you come up, but of Deep Look Medical. And again, they'll introduce themselves. Then we've got Tracy Cho, the CEO of Keepsake. We have Catherine Winokur, the CEO and founder of Halle Hair. And we have Allison Gregory, the CEO and founder of Area Hub. And again, I'm gonna let these women introduce themselves. But before I begin, I just want a quick raise of hands. How many of you are investors or want to be an angel investor in this room? Raise your hand. Okay, take note, those of you that are raising money. How many of you are founders? Wow, awesome. And how many of you just are here because you want to learn about angel investing and female founders and support Westport's great program? Awesome. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. So just, why don't we start with Allison on the end?
Is this on? Okay, great. Hello, everyone. First of all, I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for including me. This is a wonderful event, and I can tell this is a great room. I was thrilled to see some people that I already knew, and I'm looking forward to meeting many more of you. I'm Allison Gregory, as you heard. I am the CEO of Area Hub. Area Hub is a climate and environmental risk management platform. It enables its clients, which are organizations such as multi-location businesses or individuals, such as parents or relocators, to understand their areas so they can make more informed decisions. It includes for its enterprise product over 30 topics, including climate risk, infrastructure, pollution, and other issues, so that decision makers can be aware of investment, operational, and health and safety considerations. Did you also want the other question answered now or later?
No.
Okay.
Just, Marissa, why don't you?
Hi, I'm Marissa Fayer. I'm the CEO of Deep Look Medical. I am honored and blessed to be invested in by Tidal River and AIF. and Connecticut Innovations. We are a New Haven-based company, and we are a software technology company focused on the imaging and oncology market. We are already FDA cleared with our first product, and we can see inside dense tissue, which also means dense breasts that affect 45% of all women, and unfortunately, that leads to higher cancer rates. So, great to be here.
Hi, I'm Tracy Cho. I'm the CEO of Keepsake, which is a tech-enabled parenting tool that helps families document their story. And I'm really excited to be here.
I'm Catherine Winokur, born and raised in Connecticut, so good to be back. I grew up in New Canaan, and I have a brother who lives in Westport. I am very, very thankful to be here. Galia is a personal investor in Hallie Hair, which I am the founder and CEO of, as well as Allison, who was one of the first people I met when I started the company 3 years ago at CI. Hallie is modern at-home hair color, so we are not tech-enabled. We sell approachably priced temporary hair color at Ulta, Walmart, and Target nationwide.
Right, so 4 amazing women, 4 amazing companies. Before I begin, I realized I did not thank StartUp Westport for inviting and hosting, and the library too. I got so excited about Tidal River, so thank you StartUp Westport and the library. So I've got lots of questions here. I'm gonna actually, so I know I don't run out of time. So let's start with Catherine. What motivated you to launch a new business? And what gap are you meeting in the market?
Sure. I actually personally am more risk averse, so I was always very job to job, took my career pretty seriously. It took me going on maternity leave to have myself locked out of email and Slack on my phone. And my daughter was born in September. I was running marketing for Jet.com, which was part of the Walmart e-com business. And the summer that I was pregnant, I had a summer intern who had a terrible at-home hair dye experience. She completely fried her hair using box dye at home, and it kind of ended up being this whole office, situation where we're all trying to help Meredith out and go to a salon and get her hair color corrected. Meredith then graduated from Harvard, and I was just blown away that this was still happening. I have very dark hair. I'm Greek, and I had, a bad run in the sun when I was in 8th grade. And here, she was 15 years later from the Upper East Side in New York City, a student at Harvard, and yet was still losing to the box dyes at CVS. And so I just ended up researching the category, and it felt like it had a lot of the markers that you look for. So large addressable market, few CPG players that have the lion's share of the business, very little innovation and formulas and formats, and pretty much slim to zero brand relevance for that, average 20-year-old who's looking to experiment with her hair. So a lot of internet research, and then, a very supportive husband who had a stable job and kind of gave me the courage to take a swing, and that's how Hallie started. So I still haven't gone back to Walmart, and it was pretty fun selling our products into them, about 18 months later.
They're great products. I have used them myself, I have to admit. Allison, why don't you share with us, why did you start Area Hub? And you're a seasoned entrepreneur, you've had exits, and so.
Yes, so just in response to that, yes, I did do a prior startup, which was a data service company in the asset management sector. I was one of several people, and we ran it for 10 years and IPO'd it at year 7. So I did love that experience, and I'm really enjoying this one too, and this one is also in data services. So in that respect, I'm drawing upon some of my prior learnings. But the reason we started Area Hub was not because of that. It was because of a firsthand experience I had, in terms of a pain point. And as a parent, I was working, at a financial service job, and I wanted to understand about my area in terms of whether or not there were any specific factors or risks I needed to understand for the health and safety of my family. So I identified a number of questions that included climate, pollution, and other issues. And I started late at night, after work, after the household settled down, going online and researching, and I spent so much time, so many hours over such a period of time, trying to get the information I was seeking. And what I discovered was that it was too dispersed. It was much too time-consuming to find, and sometimes when you got to the information, it wasn't presented in a clear way. So in speaking with several people that I knew who ended up being my co-founders, I explained my experience and what I had wanted instead, and we determined to build this extensive aggregate platform that was nationwide and a SaaS, software as a service product, and we went about doing it, and that's the story. The other thing I should note is that also when I started thinking about this, I loved it because I grew up loving nature. I grew up along a river in a beautiful natural area. I imagine some of you can relate to that in this room. And so I love nature and I really care about the health of people. And so the fact that this product, this platform was going to enable people to make such better decisions about their health and the people who they care for, as well as be better stewards of their buildings and their areas, I love that too.
I think that's a key point. You better love it, right? Because there's a lot of not fun. All right, Marissa, you're up. Please describe some of the startup journey, and have you had to pivot?
Startup journey is hard, exactly what you said. It's hard, there's a lot of pivots. I mean, they could be daily pivots, but company pivots. I'm actually not one of the founders, so that was actually a pivot, I think, for the original founders, who were older gentlemen not in healthcare, and they knew that they needed, especially if we're talking about breast cancer and breasts every day, and I say, it's like I'm a genie. I say the word breast 3 times and somebody appears. And so they were not comfortable doing that. They didn't want to, this was not their space. And so the first pivot was hiring an external CEO, and that was me. And then and COVID hit, so nobody really cared about oncology at that time. And so we had to put a lot of our studies on pause. Some of the other pivots are, delays in trials, delays in, other clearances, delays in investor capital, delays, that forced us to kind of stretch out the capital and come up with new ideas on how to finance it. That's a lot of what a startup is about, and especially as a CEO, this is what you need to actually mentally plan for every minute of every day. The startup journey is hard, and in small companies, you have to make most of the decisions, and you have to make them on the fly, and you have to be comfortable with that. And it's hard and uncomfortable, and I'm not sure if I would change much about it. I think most startup founders and CEOs, the word, I was talking to my taxi driver, the word is grit. You need to have grit. You need to just have perseverance and grit and keep going after it.
Tracy.
Hi. Similarly, I'm not a founder, but I joined Keepsake as its CEO. It sounds like for very similar reasons. And I joined because I was a new mom after returning from maternity leave and heard of this product or through the opportunity and never used it. And I thought, it's very strange that, I've never heard of this. And I started using it, and I was like, this is such a wonderful product, and it needs to reach more parents. And when I studied the brand and kind of looked into its mission and everything that it was doing, it was clear that it had a mismatch between its brand vision and voice and what the product was actually doing and who they were serving. So again, very similar. And so that is why I joined, and to make this product something that really speaks to the modern mom who wants to do it all.
I have to admit, when I met with Tracy, I thought, it's a shame my kids weren't so young, because I thought I could have really used that when my kids were young.
As a startup, we are layering onto our mission and growing. This is how you find scale. Exactly. We need to figure out ways to grow. We talked about scalability, and this is the interesting part of startups.
She was quizzing me. She's like, how old are your kids? What do you text? Do you take pictures? So I felt like I was doing some market research there. Catherine, talk to us a little bit about your team, advisory board, and just how diversity plays a role in that.
Sure. Our team at Hallie is 10 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we were only 3 for about the first 2 years. So it got a lot bigger last year. And when we did our Series A, which was in 2022, we had a formal board, put in place. And I have to say, our lead investor appointed a super tenured gentleman who ran the consumer group at Boston Consulting Group. So he's into his 60s, retired now, but he was one of the first 40 employees at BCG and spent, almost 40 years there. So there's really not a problem that Michael hasn't seen. And that's been really awesome for me because I'm dealing with problems all the time. And so I talk to him every Wednesday morning. And when he first was put in, I was like, oh gosh, here we go. Like, this man doesn't know anything about hair dye. But it ended up just being great because whether or not it's, I got an email 2 weeks ago, speaking of pivoting, about literally like pirates in the Suez Canal that have, taken our cargo that's supposed to go into Walmart, next month. And it's just like, he's awesome because he's someone that you can call and he never gets flustered and he's always, up to ideate on what we should do and how we should pivot. So I think that there's a lot of value, I guess, in having yourself surrounded, especially with folks with operational experience, I've found, particularly for me because I have a consumer goods product.
So what did he say about the pirates? I mean, we all want to know.
Yeah, he was basically like, why did it go into the Suez Canal? Why didn't you think about diverting it beforehand? But no, he helped me basically rejigger all the product we had in the Amazon warehouse, get it back to Hallie, and then palletize that to Walmart. So definitely a fast thinker, he is.
Tracy, do you want to add about having a diverse team? Because I know you've got advisory
Yes.
board.
We've got a diverse team. We're just under 20 employees. I have a similar board. Small Cliff Serlin is actually on the board. And we operate with lots of different backgrounds, and the similarity that we all share is that we are all family first. And so that is definitely something that we discuss about how the working culture, we want it to be something that is sustainable, and that means integrating the fact that we are either parents, or we are daughters, or we are sons, and making that still achievable while you're still having a really robust profession.
Allison, talk to us a little bit about the pros and cons about being a female founder.
Okay. I think I'll definitely start with the pros. I would say that the first pro that comes to mind is that I think that when you have a female-led organization, sometimes that can really attract incredible and diverse talent. And to your point, when your organization has diversity, that can enhance the organization in terms of the range of backgrounds and perspectives that people can highlight, and therefore help you reduce the risk of missing issues or things that you need to be addressing. So I value and appreciate how diverse our team is at the team, advisory board, and board of directors level. Another pro, I would say, is that as a female founder or a female CEO, you get connected to wonderful events and organizations such as tonight's. I think that I have had such a tremendous opportunity to encounter people that I really appreciate and value through some of these organizations, whether we're talking about Tidal River Fund, WBDC, so many different organizations, and I'm very grateful for all of that. The second thing that I would, turning to cons, let's just turn to cons now, because I think I've already said enough on the pros, although I'm sure there are others we could mention. On the cons side, I think that many people have discovered that this has been a challenging fundraising period in general. And if you watch TechCrunch results and things like that, you can see how particularly challenging it is for female-led organizations. I guess the last TechCrunch report that came out after the first quarter of 2023 said of the VC money that was invested in startups or new companies, 2.1% went to all female-led companies. And there are other stats we could point to, but I think that that's very surprising and disappointing when you also bear in mind that there are so many reasons why female-led organizations are particularly attractive investments. BCG, speaking of BCG, did a great study in 2018. The World Bank has published things. There are so many different ways in which different studies that have analyzed over periods of time have found that female-led organizations actually outperform other companies, and that they also can be a tremendously attractive investment opportunity when you look at them from a return on a per dollar invested basis. So I just want to mention that it's a shame that that con exists, notwithstanding this growing body of evidence.
Yes, we're constantly looking at stats. I mean, I don't even think we're talking about them as much anymore because we've been hearing this for a long time. Okay, let's get on to fundraising, which is sort of, I think, the bane of any startup entrepreneur. So, Marissa, please describe your fundraising journey.
There's not enough.
And how many times have you raised? Tell us about a pleasant experience. Tell us about the most confounding question a potential investor has asked you, but share some of that. You're in the middle of it, so.
I'm in the middle of it, and it's been a long middle of it. Hopefully I can, is that the light of the end of the fundraising? Is that maybe it? It's a lot, and that con fact, it's a lot. Like 2% goes to women. That's hard. So, I mean, the good part of it is there is a bit of a push from women-led organizations, women investing in women. There's a lot of that. Unfortunately, as there's a lot of women-led companies, there's a lot of competition. So we're all competing for the same dollar. So it's very difficult. So obviously it was really great and easy, especially speaking to Tidal River, because, women get it. Women understand. And, they literally said to me, we're not gonna drag this out. We're either a yes or a no. This is early stage. Yeah. So, it wasn't a long drawn out process. I had several very long drawn out processes. So just for context, we closed a seed round of $1.7 million very recently. We have already started our Series A raise of $5 million. So we rolled right into it because I didn't want the lag time. And it was a very conscious decision for us to do that. I had questions that were like angel rounds that went for like 21 different rounds of questions. You're angels. I don't have any more answers for you. Like, it got to that kind of point. But the investors that are there are very supportive. It's hard. It's a lot of diligence. I've gotten some questions like, oh, sorry, you're a woman. What does your husband do? A, I don't have one. B, none of your, there's children here, business. And C, what does it matter? That's irrelevant. Just an inappropriate question. Like, you're not asking any of the men the question. I also noticed I'm the CEO of the company. I have industry knowledge, but our CFO, who's a man, who I brought in, they asked him a lot of the questions. They're like, oh, okay, great answer. I just gave you that answer last week. So I think it's like changing people's minds. So that marriage question, I was like off the charts with that one. I also got a lot of questions to be like, oh, are you gonna have kids? And what's gonna be the succession plan? Again, irrelevant. And quite honestly, not your business. And then to say like, well, how well do you know this market? And we should talk to the founders. No, absolutely, I would love for you to talk to the founders, but the founders don't have any healthcare experience, so why would you necessarily want to talk to the founders about the healthcare solution that we are putting out? So I think it's a lot of double standards. I think there's a lot of education in the market that needs to happen, and it goes back to this 2%. It's really difficult, and it's really difficult for us to break in. As we are in women's health, I also very specifically do not believe in only going after women's health money, because of that 2%, it is the smallest of the percentages that you can possibly have. And so women's health is healthcare. So I went to healthcare investors. We're 51% of the population. Actually, we're the majority. So we should be going after actual healthcare dollars, not just women's health dollars.
Well said. All right, Catherine, you're in the middle of this fundraising journey as well. So tell us, just if you want to describe it. And
I was negative Nancy, so like you go right ahead and make it sound better,
so
but it
positive.
sucks. Yeah,
and then
it's horrible.
and then what are
Nothing against your experience.
It's horrible.
and any just challenging questions you've gotten, or surprising questions, I should say, from investors?
So Hallie has done 2 formal rounds. We did a seed round when we launched in 2021. And then we actually did a follow-on round with all of our existing cap table in 2022, which was pretty awesome because I was, again, going to be really positive. No, I was expecting to have to go on the whole, fundraising journey again just a year later. And so having everyone raise their hand to write bigger checks, 18 months after was great. As Galia mentioned, we are currently fundraising again. And so have kind of taken my head out of the sand of my hair dye matrix in my guest bedroom and meeting lots of new people. So it's super time consuming. When you run a lean startup, I mean, Hallie's about to go in every single Ulta store on May 12th, and we just launched 2,000 doors in Walmart, the pirate cargo last week. And so there's just not enough time to be meeting, people over and over. And actually, I get the same question all the time, like the same few questions. And Meredith, the intern that I started now works at Hallie. So I'm like, you should just talk to Mare because she's now here and can tell you all about her hair dye experience. But what I found most interesting is actually the investors, what they don't ask. So the folks that don't ask me to send them samples, or even better, like the folks that just order it on their own, or they go to a Target and look at the shelf, I want them on my cap table. I want them to be in it with me. And so I like that a lot. There are a lot of men, right, that aren't our target user, but they have their daughter, or their niece, or their neighbor, babysitter use Hallie and try it. And so those have actually been, for me, the best relationship that I've found.
Chris, sorry, I'm giving you a shout out. Chris and Amy, they, especially for researching a product, they went to Ulta, they go to CVS, they go online, we all order products, so we're, that we can. Keepsake, not yet, but it's great advice. Okay. Tracy, talk to us if you have advice for female innovators that are looking to launch or scale early stage businesses, because you've really dealt with that.
Yeah, I always go back to user research and really talking to your existing customers, see what's working, see what's not working. Think about, even if they are looking for products and services that are outside of yours, what other brands do they like, what other brands do they seek, and see if there's a strategic partnership that you can align, especially as a startup. That's one of the key ways to grow and scale. So that would be where I really urge anybody who's looking to build a business is talk to your ideal user, ask them what they're looking for, and that will kind of inspire new ideas.
Great, I know I'm trying to wrap up in a few minutes because I know we have a lot of questions. Allison, do you have some advice for investors? Because since you've, I think, been on both sides of the cap table and been that are looking to invest in early stage companies.
Okay.
Besides joining Tidal River Fund, which,
There you go. I guess to identify a few things, I would say, first of all, make sure that you're looking at some of the studies and the information that we're citing, because It may help inform you in terms of thinking about what might be undervalued or particularly attractive opportunities. Second, I would say that if you're connecting with an early stage company, it would be phenomenal to be a resource to that company. From an early stage perspective, we want investors that are aligned with our mission. They see the value potential, the value opportunity and the potential of the organization. And if you are motivated and excited about that, then maybe you can be a resource in terms of introducing them to potential clients. Especially at the early stage level, I think that CEOs, founders, the people running the company would be particularly appreciative and receptive to any suggestions or introductions you may have. And the third thing is, I would say, support and invest to help create the world you want.
I know we're running out of time, so I want to make sure that I get these questions asked. Marissa, what advice would you give to female innovators looking to launch or scale their business?
Ask for help. Ask your investors. Ask anybody who works with you. Ask anybody you know in the industry. And if you don't know anybody in the other industry, go find people who do. Ask questions. And honestly, we need more female innovators. So please start your business. Please go out there and get involved. Please use the resources that are actually out there. And honestly, there's a lot of investors, even if they're not going to invest in you, they will help you. They will make introductions to others. So very much what you said, like ask and ask for the help, because startups and founders and CEOs, we cannot do it ourselves. We do not want to do it, most of us, ourselves. And we need the help. And sometimes at the early stage, it's really great to have like, quote unquote, free help and advice, and talk to other people who have done it, talk to other founders, talk to other people who maybe can help you and mentor you. That's really important, and it's been something super helpful for myself. So yeah, but please do innovate and actually find a problem. Don't create one. There's plenty of problems in this world. Find one that you can figure out a solution for, or you have a solution for, and fix that problem. Don't create another problem. There's a lot that needs fixing, and I think like a lot of us have kind of done that. And find it, figure out a solution, and that's actually how you're going to get funded more easily.
Remember, yes. One of my early investor mentors said, "Go where the sharks are swimming."
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great quote. I think we have time for one more question, so I'm going to ask Catherine. So how important is it to diversify or have diversification on your cap table? So for those of you that don't know, the cap table is a list of, at some point in time, who owns what in the company and what percentage of equity is owned in that company. It's called the capitalization table. So it's a really key part when you're looking to invest. So our goal at Tidal River was to say we want more women on the cap table. So from your standpoint, how important is it to have diversification or diversify your cap table?
I think it's very important. I'm a solo founder. I still own the majority of the company. And I think that I found that you want people to have enough ownership where they feel like they have some skin in the game. So I think of our cap table as we have kind of like passive and active investors. And I think that diversity is very important, because if you have all active investors, unless you have just a few, it becomes pretty cumbersome game of telephone. And so I think for me, a lot of our earliest investors that wrote smaller checks tend to be more passive. And then what we found is, like, one of our largest investors is a family office that runs one of the largest personal care distributor businesses in the country. So that's been like immensely helpful, because it's extremely specific and relatable to Hallie's everyday business. And so I found that having, a group of people on the cap table that can really specifically help your company, instead of just constantly talking about other companies that have no relation to what we're doing, is really, really helpful. And I've also found that if you can have relationships with them, you know, some were pre-existing before Hallie. Like some of my first investors, you know, were folks that I had known earlier in my career. But, you know, newer ones like Allison that I've met in the crowd, I think that they continue to kind of champion Hallie and, you know, you as an individual. And that, you know, just carries a lot of weight because it's not easy with startups and there's constantly a million problems. And so being able to be surrounded with folks that can help contribute and navigate you out of it is really helpful.
There's a great expression called smart money, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to take money from everybody. All right, we are going to open it up. I could keep asking questions, but I know that there's a lot of Q&A. So if anybody wants to go to the Westport Library sign, and if you want to line up and ask these wonderful founders questions, otherwise I'll keep going. But come on, don't be shy. You've got 4 amazing founders here.
Hi everyone, my name's Clovia. Just a question, anyone who wants to take it. What's a tip for having a lean startup? Like, what's your biggest tip?
A lean startup? Use consultants and use fractional people. You don't need a CFO full-time all the time. So use people fractionally, use consultants, do a lot of networking to get those right people. But to be lean, you don't need a lot of people, you know, as they say, W-2'd.
Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Kamani Harrison. I'm the founder of The Key Bookstore, which is a tech-enabled evolution of the bookstore for book lovers to stay immersed in reading culture. So my question to you guys is, in that conversation that you're having with potential investors, you guys know your industry, and you understand the value. How do you communicate the essential ROI or why this is valuable dollar-wise? You know, a lot of us are passionate about why we started the startup, so how do you communicate dollar-wise why this is a smart investment?
Everyone's looking at me, okay. So I went through this a lot with hair color. It's kind of this like unsexy subcategory of hair, which is less cool than skincare and color cosmetics in general within the beauty world. So my advice is just to see it through their lens. You know, they have no context, so you have to give them context. I also think visuals really help. Even like never underestimate like the value of a 60-second, you know, sizzle reel or whatever you're doing in your store on video. I think a lot of people can't always envision what, you know, you're very passionate about. And so if you are able to just communicate it in a way that they can understand and then also follow along with the numbers. So, you know, what you think the addressable market is and how you're going to approach it. To me, that helps kind of ground the conversation.
I just want to add that you did send us a 60-second video that was fantastic. It spoke volumes, but also I'm a numbers person. So as an investor, we have to think, well, how am I getting my money back? And that's probably the first thing. We're thinking that with every slide or how am I getting my money back? How am I getting my money back? So if you can do both, but the video was really good.
I would just, I mean, I agree with what you said. I would just basically think about it with a few extra points, which is I would start with explaining what the pain point is, how this addresses it. Then I would explain the market size and the expected growth on that market size over time. And I would clarify the competitors and how your offering differs from the competitors.
Great. Next question.
Hi, good evening. My name is My name is Rasheen Blanks, and I am the founder of the Worthnomics Company. So I'm envisioning that meeting investors is great, right? But what are your thoughts on the requirements or some of the skill sets that you would want an investor to have, right, beyond the money? Because the money will get you a certain distance, but after that, you really want them to have a certain skill set. So could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Do you have investors that?
I think, when you're looking at an individual investor, you definitely want to meet somebody who aligns with your values, kind of what we talked about before. Making sure that the person sees the world and wants the world that you see is incredibly important. That you can actually go out and have lunch with, like not a conversation or a meeting, but is this somebody who you could actually sit down and have a personal conversation with? And if that's the case, then, you can at least have confidence that you'll be able to navigate and manage difficult conversations together.
I'd also say somebody who has strategic alignment and can make those introductions. We're in healthcare, we want to get into larger companies, eventually sell our company. Who has those introductions? Who knows those people? That's who I want as our investors. Not to utilize it right this moment, but in the future I'll be making that phone call.
I'll make this quick. Great presentation and really compelling conversation for tonight. So all of you, I'm sure, are thinking about what your exit strategy is and what your monetization event is. Kind of just a lightning round. Who's thinking about being acquired by a corporation? Who's the IPO markets still seem to be pretty locked up? What are you guys thinking, and how soon do you want to get monetized?
So I just want to explain before they add, exit strategy means how am I as the investor getting my money? How are these companies going to have an exit? And they'll describe their exit so that the investor gets their money back. That's really what we're thinking about. Nelson.
Okay. We may be a little different in that our company was largely self-financed and bootstrapped with safe money so far. In fact, we're actually currently doing a $1.75 million safe round, and we're 2/3 raised on that. And that's intentional, and that's informed by my prior experience. We have investment firms, family wealth offices, et cetera, amongst our investors, but we haven't taken any VC money yet, and we are not on a clock yet. And what I learned in my prior experience is that by delaying until you have a certain amount of revenue to do that first valuation round or VC round, you are starting the clock to give you the greatest opportunity set in the future to make what might be the best decision for your company and your investors. So I may be a little atypical in that respect, but I still think it's something that maybe should be considered and discussed as an option for whoever can pursue that.
I'm selling the company in 10 to 18 months. To a large healthcare strategic, so somebody who's probably already our partners or might potentially be our partners, so that's why we specifically have partnered with certain companies, but we are going after an acquisition 10 to 18 months.
I like that.
I mean, fingers crossed. Come on, Galia, make it happen.
We're all the investors in the room are like, yes.
I don't think every company needs to be grown to a massive scale at a massive company, especially as a healthcare technology. We are better suited to be integrated into larger companies who can grow and scale that even better and faster. So but that's our market.
No. And either path may make sense, but over the course of time, you'll figure out which is the right path, whether you sell or whether you go further.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in between, where we're going towards profitability and kind of owning our own destiny, but also know that there are many companies that would be great strategics that we are talking to and actively discussing ways that we might be able to, either merge or have strategic partnerships.
And Tracy, I have a quick follow-up for you, because I would think that your company, a lot of people would be circling it, like other companies, like the Shutterflies, I don't even Minted, all those probably owns by Shutterfly. So I would think that even if you aren't thinking about exit, I've talked to a lot of startups that say, they're already talking, they're getting calls. So that's a really good question to ask too, is not just what is your exit, but are people already calling you?
Yeah, and it's great because it also educates you to understand, I have different options. What is, the partner that's going to bring the greatest value to both our customers and to our investors? It's one of the nicest things about being a consumer-facing business.
At Hallie, we think we're about 2+ years away from hopefully I don't think about it as like an exit timeline, but more of like the revenue target we're working towards and the size of the business we want to get to. We also are really working towards getting to be a profitable business, which hopefully will come, at the end of this year, which will be very freeing for me as the founder. But I think it's a very good point to the earlier question on what you look for from an investor is like you really should make sure you have alignment on the outcome, and what's a good outcome is for you is not necessarily what an investor might be. So you don't want to be upside down from the start, and really making sure that you have just clarity on the exit path. And for us, it's really either to a strategic, so a CPG player, and or, I think that the PE route is very viable for consumer products as well.
So PE is private equity. Mm-hmm. Great. Next question. I think we've got time for 2 more questions.
I'm Jara, and I'm the founder of poshmom.com. I'm a sole founder and also self-funded. And I sometimes play with the idea of scaling quickly and going for VC, but after what I heard with 2%, I think I should go another direction. But if I do decide to look to be in that 2%, I can't wear another hat because I do so much in my business every day, including being a mother and a wife, but or actually aside from. But what do you suggest, because I have no problem speaking to people, but getting that list together and finding the people who are possibly interested seems like a little insurmountable. Where did you find, besides just using friends and family and getting connected to people, was there a list that you used when you went to talk to people for funding? Like, how did you find Tidal River, or how did you find other people who invested?
It was a lot of networking, so
time consuming.
Yeah, it's time. And listen, there's nothing I'm going to say that's not. It's time consuming. Like you have to just make the decision to raise the money. You can do it slowly. I would say angels are a great way to go. The Connecticut ecosystem is really supportive. At events, you will meet people. If you don't need it, start having the conversations now. And you can slowly get there. There's also the other opportunity. It's called friends and family, yes. And it is literally a round. It's a name of a round. It's not just like what you call it. It's called friends and family. It's normally the first investment round. So if you do know of some people and have them connect you to other people, it's a good way to start slowly, and then they can make connections to others that might be in the community.
And I would also add, check out the Angel Capital Association. They list the majority of angel groups in the country. And it's just a great, great resource.
Yeah, and if you're doing it, listen, you're gonna have to put together a deck. You're gonna have to put together the financials. You're gonna have to put all this stuff together. So like, there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, typically. So like, when you go to the ACA, like, you have to be ready. You gotta fill out this very long form. So I think it's like, you have to plan and think for it, but it is a full-time job.
So I think we should ask just one more question. So, yeah, we can ask.
I should play the lottery today since I get the last question. So thank you so much for your time. So I know we've been talking a lot about what you look for in investors and all of that lovely. I'm Chief Operating Officer and Chief Compliance Officer for Yelp Payment, B2B and B2C app. What I think about on a daily basis is people. So human capital, right? Like, what are some of the values, some of the criteria that's important to you as you build your teams? AI is not running your companies yet, so we got to think about people. So
That's a great question. Tracy, do you want to start? Whoever wants.
Yeah, I think, one is, for the person who just asked the question before, it's a similar thing. You have to find people who you really trust your business with. You have to find people who you trust to delegate work and to free you to do the things that you need to do as a founder. I think you need to find people who passionately use your product or your service or have some sort of relationship to it, because that is really going to derive the motivation that you need, especially in today's work environment. We work remotely, there's a lot of burnout, there's so many things to consider. So you really want to find people who believe in the mission, who you trust, and you can have really open dialogue with.
So do you want to add anything before we wrap up the panel? Or
Sure. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, when it comes to hiring people, especially when you're a startup, you have to be very sensitive and thoughtful about how many people you want to have as full-time employees, and you want to do as much as you can with great part-time independent contractors. In terms of positions, and especially with regard to people that are, more junior in their experience levels or their career, we have found that by posting intern positions through Handshake, et cetera, we get flooded with applicants. And then we have hundreds of people from which we can pick our interns, and we have ended up hiring several of them upon their graduation. So that's been a great path for us to get to know them well, for them to get to know us well, and for us to determine whether or not they'd be a great fit with the company. Other ones are more nuanced in terms of the specifics of what you're seeking.
Great. Well, that's all we have time for. I know I could ask about 10 more questions, and so please join me in thanking our panel. They're really...
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Galia and all the panelists. We greatly appreciate it. I know there are some more questions, so please feel free to come up and ask your questions, and let's keep the conversation going over at the Spotted Horse tonight. So again, thank you all so much for coming. We greatly appreciate it, and great job, everybody.